World government officials find themselves attacked by a different model of pacifista. This one is capable of generating a bubble shield from its hands that can defend against any attack, causing it to be called the strongest shield Dr. Vegapunk has created. This model is dubbed Mark III, far surpassing the prototypes used during the Summit War of Marineford. The attacking pacifista demands the agents surrender and move to Factory B. They do so as they question who was able to give it commands. The one responsible turns out to be Sentomaru, who has woken up and is currently being treated for his wounds. He realizes that the Frontier Dome has been closed and he can no longer contact Vegapunk, and on top of that, the Marines have been looping their communications so he cannot get any updates. Still, now that he has rebelled, he will continue to do as he pleases. As such, he orders the rest of the Mark III pacifista to mobilize and ensure that the Straw Hat Pirates escape Egghead Island safely with Dr. Vegapunk, and also to keep an eye on the coast as the Marines are acting strange. In the labaface, Loofy is resting after all of his running around and fighting, which also resulted in his shoes breaking. He asks where Vegapunk and Jewelry Bonnie are, to which Shaka says that Bonnie is still within the building, and says everything in the lab is transmitted to this monitor. Loofy replies and says, "Huh, you could have told me sooner." As it is constantly being monitored, Zoro, Brook, and Stussy make their way inside with new outfits. Brook says this play is marvelous, they have everything. Zoro says I thought we were leaving. Stussy says where is your Stella body, did something happen? Shaka tells everyone present including Atlas, who was repaired, that they have a couple of issues, just keep calm and listen. Shaka says first the Stella has disappeared, second we have lost control of the Frontier Dome. Someone says what? How can that be? Shaka tells everyone that they are trapped in the Labo Stratum. Everyone in the lab say seriously. Shaka continues and says if we tried to leave, the lasers would likely fry us. Usopp and Chopper says what? How can we leave? Shaka says quite, and the dome is really a secondary concern when you consider your main passenger is missing. We should prioritize finding the Stella first, I'll figure out a way to repair the dome in the meantime. Frankie replies and says how are we meant to find him, if he's not shown up in any of your monitors? Shaka admits this to be true, surmising that the Seraphim caused some damage that may have caused their Kamiko surveillance Den Mushi to either be incapacitated or moved out of position, resulting in a blind spot where the Stella may be. And says his having every worker and the other satellites searching for him, he might have passed our blind spot. Pythagoras contacts Shaka and tells him that there is no one on the third floor in Building C, and he asks him to check the next one. Nami decides to go and find him, thinking that the faster they do the faster they can leave the island, and she hopes to get some treasure from him. The other Straw Hats and Stussy decide to help find him, but when Zoro decides to go, Sanji says hold up Moss Head, you are going to find someone, but who will find you when you're done? Chopper says he's right. Zoro, you stay. Robin says just be a deer and wait, okay. The Straw Hats know very well that Zoro will get lost. As such, Luffy and Zoro are left behind to watch over the captive Lucci and Kaku. Zoro says man what a damn pain. Well they're just forming a search party, so I guess they'll be fine. Anyway you must have been running all out right. Luffy replies and says I always go all out for everything. Can't believe we bumped up to these guys again. Takes me back to Water 7, I wonder how Ice Boss is doing. In lab interior raw room, Vegapunk tells Bonnie not to touch that, but Bonnie says shut it, get out of here. In room NICU, Bonnie finds herself within the memories of her father. She sees him as a child crying, but is unable to do anything as she watches some other people force him to come back, saying they will all die if he does not. Kuma vehemently refuses, saying he would rather die himself. He gets caught and beaten by the other people, where he begs to be saved as Bonnie watches with tears in her eyes. Kuma says if just kill me instead, if I go back I'll die anyway. Bonnie tells the people that are beating her father to stop, but she gets ejected from the bubble. Chapter 1074 shifts to Kuma who is still climbing the red line. One of the Marines says Bartholomew Kuma is still going, shoot him down. Bonnie realizes she needs a strong resolve to keep watching his memories, determined to make sure she understands everything about her father. As Pythagoras continues to search for the Stella, he says wow, they really totaled the place, even though they were born here. Someone approaches him from behind, and an explosion goes off in part of the lab. On his news balloon, Morgans has received information. His source tells him the world government intends to kill Vegapunk. They plan to kill the world's greatest genius. It's like Ohara all over again, but they have miscalculated this time. The good doctor is far too popular for this fly. He's loved as the man that develops energy to light up towns the world over. Morgan says, fortunately, guess who else happens to be on the island? This guy. So let's make the headline. Navy skirmish at Egghead. Emperor Straw Hat Loofy takes Vegapunk hostage. I'm sure the government will appreciate that spin, and go collect their contributions. Yes, that's outrageous. Nefertari Vivi, who was with him, angrily tells him that Loofy would never do something like kidnapping, and she voices her disgust with his newspaper. Wapol, who was also there, begs her to keep her voice down, fearing that the government has agents watching and listening in on them. Morgans tells Vivi she has no right to interfere with his work after she spent the previous day crying her eyes out. He also tells her that he does not care if his stories are lies or the truth, as long as they are entertaining, since he is the only one who can shake up the world. What do you think of this chapter? Leave your answers in the comments section below. And I would really appreciate it if you press that subscribe button.